All right, well, here we go. Struggles as a 20-year-old on self-improvement. And I kind of just want to make this video for my future self to look back on, number one. Because I know a lot of people are going to resonate with me with some of the things I'm about to say, and I want to have this video to look back on and realize that a lot of these struggles may have been big, but they also may have been small. And I want my future self to have this for when other people ask me how I could over and achieve some things that I said I was going to do, how I did it and how I achieved that freedom and just that peace that humans are constantly looking for, you know. And I just have 4 bullet points over here just to, just to keep myself set. But I really want this just to be talking off the dome and kind of just some thoughts I'm having about my own life and some of the other of this generation, especially those people who are big on self-improvement. Like when I talk about big on self-improvement, I talk about, watching YouTube videos on self-improvement, listening to podcasts like Chris Williamson, listening to people like Hermosi and like a lot of those guys. And, you got a list of books here. I got shelves and shelves of self-improvement books. And that's kind of just what I'm talking about, along with doing things like going to the gym. It could be any type of self-improvement, and you're probably going to resonate with this, at least to an extent. But here we go. Self-improvement and why I love it, but why it's also such a struggle. I think the greatness of self-improvement is waking up every day and knowing that you are better than yesterday. Even if it's just that little bit, knowing that you got better and seeing progress. And that's why I love the gym so much, because you do see that progress over time. It's not instant. You're not going to just go to the gym for 2 days and completely revamp your physique. It does take time, but you know that you are making progress when you continuously lift weights. And the progress gets addicting. It can become a little bit of an obsession. But I think that's still a good thing. If you can be obsessed on something that improves your life drastically, there's no need to be worried about balance. There's no need to be worried about, is there so much harm in this in the long run? Because you're actively just making your life significantly better, as opposed to looking at the alternatives and wishing that you would have put in more work looking back on it. And it always comes back to progress. And I think that's why self-improvement is just awesome. Is because you're getting better. Now the problem with it is that, number one, it's hard to talk about with other people. Not a lot of other people are in the field, and there's not a whole lot of people also in most people's lives who kind of watch the same type of content, listen to podcasts and follow the same people that a lot of people in the self-improvement realm follow. And so it's hard to have meaningful conversations. I'm not saying I don't have good conversations with the people in the gym about cool things, but it's hard to connect with people on a deep level when a lot of your time is focused on improving your own life. I think there's a lot of other struggles, but that is the main one that, for me, I struggle with. And I know down the line there's going to be a lot of people that I do become friends with and are interested in the same things that I am. And just complement me well. I don't know how long that will be, and for some people it takes a long time. I'm just going to continue to put myself out there, especially on social media, because I think now it's just easier to find your set of people because of, you know, being able to have access to 7 or billion or 8 billion, however many it is now, people in the world with just a click of a button. There is going to be some negativity to that when I talk about it a little bit later. Might be the last thing we talk about, or we could just get into it right now. And I think that's what we're going to do. Phone algorithms. The problem, well, I mean, all of this is kind of also, it dives into the phone and the entirety of the generation. This is the phones. The phones are such a problem. Like, they're a blessing, but they're also such a darn problem, and it's difficult to have a lot of meaningful things in life right now with the phones. And I don't think that people understand how detrimental the phones are to life and screen time in general. You know, you can play a video game with all your boys and have a great time, but you're not, it's real life, but it's not real life. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, it's a video game. You're still sitting, you're doing nothing besides using a remote. And it's fun. But doing things actively are much more fun, in my opinion. And right now, that's what we're lacking. Because most people are scrolling for 6 hours a day. Or, you know, playing video games. You don't just go to a park like you did 30, 40 years ago, and maybe 20 years ago. That's 30, 40 is way pushing it. 20 years ago, and have a blast, you know? Like, that used to be a spot. Like, going to the park and throwing a football, playing basketball. People still do that, but just not as often. You know, when people get free time, they just want to lay in bed. And I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. Maybe we'll dive into the algorithms and why it's, I'm seeing a big problem with the algorithms. And it also kind of pertains to me too. When you have a conversation with a normal person and you disagree on beliefs, normally you kind of come to, what's the word? You kind of come to, I don't even know. Gosh, darn brain's not working. Just call it. We're just gonna say you come to a conclusion. You know, you kind of a compromise. Thank goodness, come to a compromise. When you're talking to someone, you know, they don't have the same views as you, but you kind of meet in the middle. The problem with the algorithm is you get fed over and over and over again what you believe. Because what you like, you continuously receive more of. And when you continuously hear the same message over and over and over again, it becomes ingrained into your brain. And more people are spending time on social media than talking with other people, 1,000%. So you continuously just get those beliefs. And I'm not saying, like, my beliefs are not definitely 100% correct. Like, I like, if someone took a look at my social media, they'd be like, dude, what are you watching fully? Like, you know, like, not everything on my page is, like, 100%. Like, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but I think you can interpret it from the other side of the screen, what I'm trying to say. Because it's a hard thing to explain. And I think that's why a lot of people are so extreme with what they believe in. And it's because there's not a lot of like placeholders to stop you from going down such a deep rabbit hole. Okay. I'm going to stay on social media. Going to stay on that topic and go into kind of just talking, because sometimes it's hard for me to have a conversation with anyone because there's so many thoughts in my brain. Like whether it's optimizing, whether it's just trying to do the right thing morally, as opposed to just experiencing, being present, and just flowing with the conversation. I'm kind of overthinking it just because of how many people I've listened to in the past, 24 hours, how many videos I've watched of people telling me how to optimize something, how to live correctly, that becomes difficult to just be present and to have not saying the wrong thing or just spitballing. And again, it's another hard thing to explain, and right now I'm struggling to come up with thoughts, and I think that's part of because of the 1,000 videos I've taken in and the conflicting information I've received. And I know I gotta at some point make a decision on what I want to believe, but it's difficult. All right, number 4. That's the point we're on. I only have 5, but we'll go into this one. Social isolation and not having a ton of real social interaction. Part of this is absolutely my fault. When I was my first 2 years of college, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I went out to the bars maybe 3 times. But it's just hard to get myself to go and hold a conversation for a long extended period of time. Small talk, cool. I can small talk with someone for 3-5 minutes, and sure, that that's fine. But at a period of time, I don't know how to hold a conversation when someone doesn't resonate with me, isn't interested in the same things I am. And it's tough to meet new people because most of the time you go talk to just your friends. And most people aren't really looking to meet other people nowadays, including myself. And I do want that to change. I want to go and meet a whole lot of new people. But again, I can continue to say that and not do it. And that, unfortunately, is a spot where I'm at in life. Is I say I'm going to do something, and I do it for a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe a month. But then I slowly break whatever habits I had and just revert back to what I'm doing now. And the main struggle is, I think I have 2. I think number 1 is consuming content, because that's a problem. Consuming too much content is a problem when you don't put it into action. And I struggle to put the content into action. I have a TikTok, and I'll post videos once a day, maybe 4 times, 5 times a week, somewhere around that, around that range. but they're kind of just thoughts, and they kind of just come and go. Sometimes I just see a post and I kind of recycle the information of that post, and it's not a great content scheme, but I think it's what a lot of people are doing. So it's just something that I was just throwing on a TikTok page and see if it could gain some traction. And I don't think there's an issue with that. I just think there's an issue with not putting that information into action. And I have 6 years worth of self-improvement information, and some action has been taken, of course, but there's also a lot of things in life that I've just read it and said, okay, that's fine. Like, I just don't do much with it. So that's that. The second problem is food. Like I think I said in this video, I'm not like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't really do much that gives me comfort besides eating food. Eating food is that comfort that I always will rely back on. And unfortunately, it's just something that has killed the dopamine system, and it's lost a lot of trust with myself from just not being able to control a diet. And we can go, maybe I'll go to the coaching. I decided I wanted to do a bodybuilding show. Just honestly, I still don't know 100% why. I like to do a lot of reflecting. I like to do a lot of, like recently I've just been trying to do a lot of reflecting. The reason at the time I wanted to do it is because I want to do something hard. I want to do something difficult to say I could do it. I was never interested in bodybuilding itself. And I don't know, I just wanted to do it because a lot of people I followed were huge into bodybuilding. A lot of people were, shredded. And of course, like when you see lean, you want to be shredded, you want to be lean. So I was like, okay, you know what? We'll go to the bodybuilding show. I'll hire a coach. So I hired a coach. And for 42 days, that's the number it was, I was locked in. There were very, very little mistakes. Very little. I ended up losing 12 pounds, maybe 15 pounds in 42 days. And I felt amazing about myself. I definitely was fatiguing a little bit because, that was a pretty crazy amount of fat loss. I was in a steep deficit, but I still felt awesome about myself. And then bag of pretzels. That's what did it. One bag of pretzels. I ended up just losing control over the diet just because I let myself go one time. And then that was just a constant cycle of, being able to be locked in for 2 days, 3 days. But then, the muffins or a cookie or something. And it's just binge eat. That's my comfort, is eating a lot of food. Still have a solid physique, don't get me wrong, because I'm able to kind of cancel that out with the 2 to 3 days in between, but I'm just maintaining. And I'm not actively being able to fully pursue the goal of being lean. And, ever since, being done with the coach, I ended up kind of just not really caring, dropping out of the show. And, a coach can only do so much to hold you accountable. And I just wasn't holding myself accountable. So I think a lot of it might stem back to, like, when I was little, and it'd always be like, I just enjoyed eating sweets any chance I got when, you know, someone, when I was the only one home, you just go into the pantry and you eat a whole thing of Oreos when I was young, and you kind of feel like the problem with that, and I had an aunt tell me, was, you kind of feel like you're getting away with it, even though you're not, you know, you're not, you don't get away with it. Even though it feels like you do, you're not. I don't know why that's the one thing that I really revert back to, is just eating junk. I know it's bad for me, and the rest of my days are pretty darn healthy. Like I'll eat pretty much, I can eat the same meals. It's just once that temptation hits to go to the pantry, it's over. And then it's like 10,000 calories, But I think, I don't know, we're at 21 minutes. I feel like there's a lot that I didn't say and a lot more that I want to say. So I'm just going to quickly think upon it for a minute and cut to when I get to those thoughts. Okay, that was quick. I only really thought for, I don't know, 5 seconds. But college, I'm 2 years into college studying business. I'm not getting much out of it. There's not a whole lot of interest. I don't think the material is, like, it's fine. Like, like I'm learning a little bit. But I'm also not fully doing it the way it should be done. A lot of AI has made things, quote unquote, easier, even though most of society is getting dumber and dumber because of AI, because it's easier to pass now and not learn the information, as opposed to, just fail and then, or just pass and learn. That's really what I'm getting at. And pass for a reason, because getting A's was difficult, and it was a real goal that wasn't just handed to you on a plate. Like it was easy to get A's in high school by just ChatGPTing things. And so yeah, I've absolutely gotten dumber because of that, and it's like you're just playing school on easy mode. And I think a lot of people will, like, come back to the same thing. I think learning, that made learning a lot more difficult for me. And I used to be someone who really, really enjoyed learning, especially math, I was never the biggest reading fan, but I kind of loved learning in every other aspect until junior year of high school, when ChatGPT became big, and, it was just handed to you. You kind of just became lazy. And there was not really a reason, because you're going to get an A anyways. So 2 years into college, it's like studying, like you can just cram 2 nights of studying, know the information for the test. Use AI to complete your assignments for you during the actual school semester, and then be able to still pass and get R-rated. Like, I got solid grades, with 2 nights of locked in studying. And the problem with that is now I don't really retain that information. One, I don't have an interest in it. Like, it's not what I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in business. So maybe that's something that has to change, or should change. And that might be another discussion that I have to look inwards on and really figure out the place that I want to go in the next 5 years because I need to pick something. Otherwise, I'm just going to be sitting at something that I don't like, or just sitting doing nothing. So, don't worry, my life is not just complete disaster because I'm just talking about the disaster stuff. Like, there's a lot of things that I enjoy in life and a lot of people and a lot of good. Just talking about the struggle points. And, there absolutely has been good. I've recovered some relationships. I've met some new people that I think are going to have an impact on my life. And I've learned a lot. Like, I've actually learned a lot in the past 6 years of self-improvement that not a lot of other people have the information to what I have. And I do think that self-improvement might be the number one way to, knowledge, self-improvement knowledge might be the number one way to be fulfilled and get that fulfillment. Because it's an addicting, I wouldn't even say addicting, it's just, you're getting better. As I said earlier in the video, it's progress. And knowing self-improvement is just an ultimate progress hack, an ultimate get 1% better hack. So, that might be it for the ramble, for the rant, for the life update. I don't even know what you want to call this. Not a lot of people nowadays are speaking their full opinion, and I think not a lot of people understand why they have that opinion. They just go with it because someone else said it. And I don't think much of that. I think that most of this was my full authentic self, which I haven't been that in, kind of a decent amount of time. I'm always hard on myself. I'm always striving to become the best and not being complacent. But I do want to slow things down while also still becoming someone I'm proud of, and that does take a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, but just being slow in the process of it and not rushing through things, not understanding something. So yeah, I think that makes sense. But yeah, well, I had 29 minutes of content, and I think it'll probably shave down to 25. To me, in 5 years, I think this is going to be a crazy video to look back on. I think I want to have a lot more direction in 5 years, a lot more freedom, a lot more understanding of the world. And you know what? Maybe I don't. And this is a forever lasting thing. But at least I'll have more knowledge. And I think you can always do something with knowledge. Knowledge will always be power. And that knowledge will eventually, be a reason that I become maybe successful, maybe just at peace, because that's my version of successful. Be at peace and have some freedom. Thanks for watching. Peace out.